Hi everyone, Steve Brooks here from Bamboom Cloud. I'm going to do a video today on Dynamics 365 Business Central Wave 1 2022 release top 10. So, as always, spring is here. That can only mean one thing: lambs, daffodils, and the Business Central roadmap for Wave 1 2022 in this case. What I'm going to do today is talk through not all the updates, because there's a huge number of them, but my top 10. So just to recap, we've had over 500 changes since Business Central was released in 2018. We get 2 updates every year: Wave 1 in the spring, Wave 2 in the fall. Wave 1, like I said, has got over 50 updates on the roadmap, so I'm going to cover just the top 10 features for today. And scrolling through the screen now, you can see just how many have come before. So let's get right to it. The first one on my list is consolidating customer and vendor balances. Now what this does is allows the set-off of balances where a customer also acts as a vendor, and we see this quite a lot in certain types of industry. You can see a couple of screenshots from the preview here where we've got an extra field on the customer card showing balance as a vendor. And what we can also do is post journals with a net off effect as well. So if you owe a customer or owe a supplier, $5,000, but they owe you $3,000, you can have that net off effect, clear the accounts, and just have the $2,000 difference being what's posted. So it's faster for accounts teams. When accounts teams are carrying out both sides of that equation, they only need to do one. We get improved visibility and exposure, and it helps on reporting as well. So it's a really cool feature, one which I think actually a lot of different industries will use, but in certain sectors, things like logistics and so on, there's a real advantage to this. Number 2, copying the link from the share menu. Now this seems quite small, right? We've just got this screenshot here with an extra button that says copy link. And, you know, on first glance, you kind of think, well, I've always been able to kind of share this to Teams by pasting the URL from the browser. But what this means now is that we can take the Business Central, we can nest it within things like Teams and still be able to share those links out through to Teams. So I can copy the link, paste it into Teams, and along with a feature that we'll see later on in this list, we can do a lot more interaction, a lot more collaboration using Business Central data without actually having to log into the system. So it's very cool. It's kind of a quality of life improvement, but it will make a big difference, and it will allow Business Central to be nested in other tools and still be able to kind of share it with teams. Number 3 is context-aware help. So what's really cool about this, and you can see the screenshots here between what we have now and what we're going to have, is this gives help to end users based on what they're actually looking at. Now, that sounds kind of obvious, but if you think around this top screenshot with the bank account card, if you press for help, nothing kind of specific comes up. Whereas now, if we in the new version, if we press for help, you've got kind of targeted, context-aware help links. This also provides a feature for kind of partner-led and ISV-led help files. So you know, you could do something that's completely unique for your customer, or you could do something, you could install an app from AppSource and download that. By clicking on the help file, you'll get a link through to the actual functionality and the actual kind of guidance. I think this is a massive improvement. You know, where we're talking about improved onboarding, when we're talking around kind of speed and kind of return on investment for customers getting going quickly and forgetting kind of their old habits from their old system and kind of getting used to using Business Central. This one is huge, and I think it sets the groundwork for improved developments in this area. So number 4 on the list is the Shopify connector. Much publicized, this kind of formal partnership with Shopify allows us to integrate between Business Central and e-commerce, in the form of Shopify. So we'll be able to do things like showing pricing and stock availability directly from Business Central onto an e-commerce platform, and then sales that are taken in Shopify will be able to flow back through into Business Central. It's cool because this native connectivity means we can do things like improve reporting, we can automate processes, we can get going quickly. Obviously, there are solutions out there already that will probably still offer expanded functionality, a deeper integration than what comes out the box. But like with anything, There is a right tool for the right sized business, and having this native connector, having a big brand partnership like this, I think is a really good thing. We see other finance systems with connections into kind of best practice service providers. I think this from Microsoft shows a real statement of intent, and for customers that have e-commerce, it means simple integration is now out of the box. We don't know a huge amount about what's included yet, but documentation for it is improving all the time, so we'll keep you posted on what this looks like. Number 5 is bi-directional CRM sync. So what this does is allows changes that are made in Business Central sales orders that have come from Sales Professional or Sales Enterprise to be synchronized back up to CRM. Previously, we just had a one-way sync, so you would make the order in CRM, it would flow through into Business Central. Now, and I think kind of from a more pragmatic perspective, operations will change things, delivery dates will shift, promise dates will move, stock availability will change. When we make changes now in Business Central, they will flow back, and the sales team, when they're talking to their customers, will be able to say, hey, I can see that the status of that order has changed, and they can talk to their customers about it without having to log into BC or without necessarily getting out of date data. So again, really useful, and I think this changes the synchronization from being a kind of cool feature into something that from a live day-to-day production environment you could really kind of work with. Number 6, better reporting out the box. Now, Business Central reporting keeps getting better. We see tight integration with things like Power BI. There's ISV solutions like Jet Reports. But of course, there is a lot of reporting that's built in. Account schedules, the standard reports, there's various different options that we've got. Account schedules have had some love. They've not had that much attention for a little while, but what this allows us to do is more configuration of account schedules. We can add more columns, it supports more formatting, and I think it's just cool to have more functionality there from day one. Not every customer wants or needs to use Power BI or Jet Reports. They are brilliant tools, but having something more out of the box is a great development. On that same train of thought, number 7, Excel report layouts. We've always had, or not always, but for a long time had the ability to do things like Word layouts where you export the report into Word, make the changes, and re-import it to be used as a standard report for everybody else. We can now do the same thing with Excel. You can see here in the screenshot, we can send the document out to Excel with data only. We can make the changes that we want to in the Excel file, bring it back in, and then when people are using that in future, they'll have that kind of customized report layout. Useful for where accountants and kind of finance teams want to do Excel-based reporting with a little bit of customization compared to what's there out the box. Number 8, Dataverse change events. So the Dataverse connector was really cool. We got this idea of virtual tables from Business Central coming into Dataverse. They were a little bit limited in the kind of first phase of this integration. You couldn't really do much with that data. You could see it in Dataverse, you could consume it, you could put it into model-driven apps and so on, but we didn't have events. Now that we've got events coming into Dataverse, that makes a massive difference because we can actually do things based on something happening in Business Central data. So this kind of tighter integration that we're seeing of Business Central into Dataverse now with, events allowing things like workflows. Again, I think that's a really kind of positive change and lets us lay the groundwork for a tighter integration with Power Platform and more use of the other tools in that stack. So things like Power Apps and Power Automate will now be easier with Business Central data. Number 9, we touched on this earlier, Teams improvements. So the screenshot that we see here with the details and the pop out, it's my understanding that the pop out is going to go and we're going to replace it with much more information on the details tab. And so where you've got maybe light users of Business Central or exec users of Business Central that need to perhaps approve something or chat about an item that sits in the database, they can do this wholly through Teams now, as long as they still have a BC license, without having to actually log into Business Central. So we see more and more people using Teams, across their whole business. Collaboration across teams, especially when people are still working a lot from home, now with kind of richer, deeper functionality and a kind of deeper understanding of Business Central data as it is shared into teams, we'll see that continue to develop further. And then finally, Outlook attachments into Business Central. So for a long time, we've had this Outlook integration to Business Central, which is very cool. The development here is now when we get attachments on an email, they'll be able to be synchronized into Business Central as well, and they will sit as an attachment on the record in BC. It's a top feature. Customers use it all the time. I think allowing the attachments to come in as well is just extra deeper functionality. It's a kind of a real kind of win in this area, because we see almost all our customers using the Outlook integration. So being able to do the attachments as well is excellent. So that's my top 10, not necessarily in a priority order. There's some really cool stuff coming out. And as always, the roadmap is there with the real nitty-gritty of all kind of 50 plus features. So do take a look if you're interested. Thank you very much.